My name is Kate Hamilton, and I'm a principal investigator at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Our group, as part of the Gut Cell Atlas, has been studying the epithelium of the GI tract. I like to think of the GI tract as a large city where each cell is an individual with a job. And what we are doing in the Gut Cell Atlas is really understanding what everyone's job is on an individual level. And so identifying how each individual cell operates individually as well as part of the larger group has really allowed us to advance our fundamental knowledge of Crohn's disease. For us to understand what's going on with Crohn's disease, we've had to identify what happens when one or more individuals are unable to complete their job, and how this then affects the function of the whole city. Our project is focused on the epithelium of the GI tract, which is the innermost layer of the GI tract, kind of like the skin, but inside the gut too. And while Crohn's is primarily thought of as an immune-mediated disease, there are aberrations in the epithelium that we don't quite understand. So our goal as part of the larger Gut Cell Atlas was to focus on differences in the epithelium, particularly in epithelial stem cells, and how patients with Crohn's have stem cells that are rewired to respond differently to inflammatory signals than a healthy stem cell. And this rewiring, we found, seems to be sustained long-term, and we think this is a new opportunity to develop therapies that target epithelial healing. We have the opportunity to access pediatric patients with Crohn's disease in order to understand fundamental differences in stem cells really at the onset of disease, which we hope will then identify new therapeutic areas to prevent the progression into a lifetime of chronic illness. So the area of cell and gene therapy is really booming right now, and people are looking at things like stem cell transplants or gene therapy that are truly have the potential to be curative in other diseases as well as Crohn's disease.
I'm Dr. Shahida. I'm a consultant gastroenterologist and healthcare clinician from Scotland, and I'm here representing my team, in which are a collaboration between Edinburgh, Scotland and Cambridge down in England to look at developing the Gut Cell Atlas. So we've actually developed 1D, 2D and 3D computational models that will allow people to analyse and integrate their own clinical data. What single cell biology is giving us is that deeper understanding. We're getting so much data. We're actually going to be able to use that data to explain disease heterogeneity. It will all be based on that individual molecular biology that represents their disease. And what we're getting with single cell analysis is that deeper level of understanding. We're able to separate patients out based on what the molecular profile is, both from the genetic level, from the transcription level, from proteins that we look at, from the tissues that we look at. We'll be able to understand why disease is so different in individual people and how that might help us predict how to give them the most effective therapies so that we can actually help manage this disease, which is a chronic disease and they have this lifelong. We've actually looked at tissue samples to see what the tissue samples tell us, what the layers of that tissue tell us, what the layers are composed of and how that might relate to someone's disease or how they might respond to a therapy. So we are very excited to be part of this whole project where everybody is working together to develop a human gut cell atlas. Because clearly what we want to understand is what drives this disease, and by understanding that we can then develop very special tools that can actually target the disease, but we can also think about how we might prevent disease in the future, which is one amazing goal in itself. The exciting advances that we're seeing are just large-scale collaborations that are happening. So there's lots of collaborations around the world that the Helmsley and the Human Gut Cell Atlas have all funded, and that's to bring together people with different skills, experience and knowledge to understand Crohn's disease and what that will give to our patients. You've often heard about the phrase prevention is better than cure. So if we can work out how to prevent disease in the first instance, or at least delay the onset of disease, it gives us real targets and values to think about how you might minimise the suffering that our patients have, or for their families or friends that are involved, because this can be a disease that affects different members of each family as well, and not just in that kind of they have Crohn's disease, but the wider impact to society. We must remember the patients are at the centre of this. This is who that we work for our patients, that will help explain to them why their disease is different and unique.